Let me start with something important. If you clicked on this video, there's a good chance you're not depressed, you're not hopeless, you're not lazy, you're not broken. You still laugh sometimes, you still function, you still get things done, but somehow nothing really hits anymore. Music doesn't feel the same. Movies feel forgettable. Success feels empty. Even things you wanted don't give you that feeling you expected. And the scariest part? You can't explain why. So you assume something must be wrong with you. But psychology tells a very different story. And today we're going to talk about it. Calmly, honestly, without blaming you. Let's name the feeling first. Most people describe it like this. I'm not sad, I'm just flat. I don't feel bad, I just don't feel much. Nothing excites me anymore. I feel emotionally numb. Psychology has a word for this. Anhedonia. But forget the label for a second, because what's happening to you isn't a disorder, it's a reaction to how modern life works. Here's the truth. No one says out loud. The human brain was not designed for constant stimulation, not even close. Your brain evolved in a world where pleasure was rare, boredom was common, silence existed, excitement had contrast. Now look at your daily life. From the moment you wake up, notifications, music, videos, messages, content, entertainment, opinions, comparisons. Your brain never gets a break. And when pleasure becomes constant, it stops feeling like pleasure. Dopamine is where this all starts, but not how you think. Most people hear dopamine and think it means happiness. It doesn't. Dopamine is about anticipation, not enjoyment. It's the chemical that says something is coming. Pay attention. This might be rewarding. Here's the problem. Modern life hijacks dopamine all day long. Short videos, endless scrolling, instant novelty, quick rewards. Your brain is constantly anticipating something better. So when something normal happens, a conversation, a meal, a win, a moment, your brain shrugs and says, "Is that it?" Not because it's bad, but because your baseline is completely distorted. Why? Everything feels meh. This is important. Your brain is extremely good at adaptation. That's how humans survived. Whatever becomes normal stops feeling special. In the past, joy stood out, pleasure had contrast, excitement was rare. Now, everything is available. Nothing feels significant. Novelty has no meaning. So your brain protects itself by turning the volume down, not because it hates you, because it's overwhelmed. This is why motivation is gone. 2. People think motivation disappears because they're undisciplined. That's not true. Motivation comes from dopamine balance. When dopamine is constantly overstimulated, long-term goals feel boring. Effort feels pointless. Progress feels slow. Your brain says, why work for this when I can get stimulation instantly? So you don't feel driven. You feel tired, even when you're doing nothing. That's not laziness. That's dopamine fatigue. Another piece nobody talks about. Meaning. Here's something psychology is very clear on. Pleasure without meaning feels empty. You can consume endlessly, but consumption alone doesn't satisfy the brain. Your brain wants contribution, creation, progress, purpose. When life becomes mostly consumption, joy loses depth. You don't feel fulfilled, you feel distracted, and distraction eventually turns into numbness. Why? You can't just relax anymore. Have you noticed this? Even when you're free, you don't feel rested. Because rest today still involves stimulation, scrolling, watching, listening, absorbing. Your brain never enters real recovery mode. Silence feels uncomfortable. Boredom feels unbearable. But boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the reset button. Without it, your brain never recalibrates. This is why old things don't feel good anymore. You might notice this too. Things that once brought joy, games, music, hobbies, conversations, don't work anymore. So you assume, I've changed. I grew out of it. I'm broken. But often the problem isn't the activity, it's the contrast. Your brain needs space between stimulation to feel pleasure again. Without space, nothing stands out. Let's be very clear about one thing. This is not depression. Depression involves persistent sadness, hopelessness, loss of self-worth. What many people feel today is different. It's emotional overload. It's desensitization. It's a nervous system that's been running too fast for too long, and treating it like a personal flaw makes it worse. Why self-blame makes everything heavier? Here's the dangerous loop. You feel numb. You don't enjoy things. You blame yourself. You try harder. You fail. You feel worse. But guilt does not restore joy. Understanding does. Once you realize, this is happening to my brain, not because of my character, everything changes. You stop fighting yourself. You stop forcing happiness. You stop pretending. And ironically, that's when joy slowly starts returning. What actually helps without turning this into self-help? I'm not going to give you a checklist. No 10 habits to feel joy again. But here's what psychology consistently shows. Joy returns when stimulation decreases, meaning increases, attention stabilizes, boredom is allowed. Effort has direction, not overnight. Not magically, but gradually. Like sensitivity coming back after numbness. A thought that might stay with you. Joy is not something you chase. It's something that emerges when your brain is no longer overwhelmed. You don't need more excitement. You need less noise. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to stop abusing your nervous system. And most importantly, you are not weak for feeling this way. You are human. Final words, this part matters. If nothing feels enjoyable anymore, it doesn't mean life lost its value. It means your brain is asking for relief. And listening to that signal, and instead of silencing it with more stimulation, might be the most human thing you can do. You're not broken, you're overloaded. And that means this can change. Slowly, naturally, without forcing happiness, just by understanding what's really happening.